This is not a translator. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you.
I'm Desiree.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I'm so happy. Oh my God, Phil, how the hell did you do
A really
this?
fun and productive method to take yellowfin croaker in the Southern California coast is by throwing a small lure. It really works well, and it's lots of fun.
Deception jig, man, and that thing hit the bottom, twitched it once, and it was on. Oh, look at that, man.
The big calico bass come out to play around Punta Banda, Baja California, Norte near Ensenada, fishing with Diego Nuno and Costa Baja Sportfishing.
First cast coming up. Dad Leland's back. He ain't screwing around anymore.
Freaking nice part purge.
Ah, life's good. Woo!
Good job, man.
Oh, Phil, I'm so glad you talked me into this.
Woo! What a way to start the morning briefing.
Thanks, sir.
Come on, bounce it. Ah, don't hit me. Jesus Christ.
KJ from Mag 12 Swim Baits was on board the Tornado. They had 50 yellowtail, 9 bluefin, and a dorado out in that neck of the woods. Some big bonita to go along with it. Not bad as we head you toward the morning briefing. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to this gorgeous beach in Southern California. I'm standing here in Surfside, California, sandwiched between Seal Beach and Huntington Beach, and it's beautiful. There is no wind at all. There's still a big full moon up there behind the clouds. The surf is just starting to come in. High tide a little bit later this morning. There was a grunion run here last night. Man, do we have a lot to talk about fishing-wise, because the dorado bite is not only getting better, it's getting bigger, if that makes any sense. There's been a lot of small dorado around, but I've talked to several captains who told me the dorado are growing up, Phil. They're getting bigger all the time, and that is great news. Our bluefin tuna bite. Has that bluefin tuna moved off the Tanner Bank? Not all of it, but quite a bit of it, and moved into the coast? We're seeing an awful lot of bluefin tuna very close to home, within 1/2 and 3/4 day range. We'll talk about that. More yellowfin starting to push in. There's bluefin up in the Channel Islands still. There's been a few yellows taken at the islands, not all that great. And then south of the border, we've got a lot of interesting things going on there. Just got off the horn with Jacob on board the Pegasus. I'll give you some of his insights and so much more. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh my God. Hey, if you went grunion hunting last night, drop a comment down below. I would love to hear what you got to see. Man, I'll tell you, I just got off the horn with Jacob on board the Pegasus. He is looking around. He's got the jigs in the water, trolling around. He's kind of off by himself right now and looking around, trying to find a kelp and trying to get well in a hurry with the dorado, but also looking around for some bluefin and yellowfin tuna, and we'll see how his day plays out. He said it was absolutely gorgeous weather. Let me give you a few of his observations, then I'll go south of the border as usual. And some of his observations are that we're starting to get some edges back. You know, that tropical storm that went through here, Hillary, kind of messed things up in terms of our water. It made it streaky, and it kind of left it what the sport boat guys would call generic, kind of like all the same. And what we're looking for when we're offshore is looking for some kind of structure. Water temperature edges are a part of that, and so very important to the game. And we're starting to see that again, where you have 69-degree water and some 74-degree water and some 72-degree water. And that's important because certain fish like certain water temperatures, and they have a tendency to hang on those edges. In other words, let's say it's a species of fish that prefers a little bit warmer water, and you have a cold water edge bumping up against a warm water edge. Well, they'll go through that cold water and bump into that warmer water and say, whoa, this is what we've been looking for. We're going to hang right here. And maybe they'll poke over into that cold water and say, no way, and pop back on that edge. And we're starting to see some of that become more defined, and I think that's only going to help. All right, let me just remind you all before I get into south of the border. We talked bluefin tuna, yellowfin, and dorado, and everything else. We've got a great 5-day trip on board the Independence out of Point Loma Sport Fishing that you've got to become part of. It's going to be great, leaving October the 20th. What a boat, what a crew, what great food, and who knows what lies ahead in sport fishing on that one. Wouldn't surprise me to be catching just about anything with this El Nino still in play. That's going to be one heck of a trip. You know, wouldn't that be something if on that 5-day trip we actually caught albacore? Who knows? I think the possibilities are endless. Remember, you can go to independentsportfishing.com or call the number you see there. Say hi to Michelle for me. You can ask her questions about the trip, anything your little heart desires. You will need a passport. We'll want to be prepared just in case we are going to go in and fish some island or some beach. So keep that in mind. You will need a passport on that trip. All right, south of the border down in Ensenada, Arnie Man, good friend of mine, and Costa Baja Sport Fishing, and Blackfin Sport Fishing, and a whole bunch of other guys down there in Ensenada have now the opportunity to go offshore and find a kelp, and many of those kelps are holding dorado right now, and it's some really good dorado fishing for our friends south of the border. There's a few yellowtail on the kelps at times, and most of them have been decent fish, like 10 to 15 pounds, with some fish even bigger than that. So south of the border, we continue very well, and if all that fails, you're out there bumping around looking for kelps, the guys will take in and catch some rockfish, or they can get you some calico bass, you know, any other number of species on the local scene, which continues to bite quite well down in that neck of the woods. All right, let's jump across the border to San Diego and talk about, first of all, the kelp patty situation. Man, I'll tell you, it's just about limits for every single boat. Now, Mexican limits is 2 fish per rod. U.S. limits is 10 fish per rod. When I say limits, most of the time we're talking about Mexican limits. Most of the boys are fishing on that side of the border. However, there's some good kelps on this side of the border also in U.S. waters, which allows guys to just slam the fish. I mean, yesterday on the Freedom, 22nd Street landing. Last time I heard, they were 150 on the Dorado. So that is some really good scores coming out of that zone. And Captain Trevor on the Freedom said, Phil, these things are growing up. They're a little bit bigger this time. A lot of this, 7 to 10 pound fish, 12 pound fish, some bigger, and some of the smaller stuff mixed in with it. But a really good signal and sign. And I mentioned the Freedom because boats from the border, you know, San Diego, all the way up here to San Pedro can fish this stuff on multi-day type trips, or at least a day and a half type trip. So some excellent scores. I mean, here's some guys that had limits. Grande, Sea-Watch, Highliner. They also had 110-pound Bluefin, Pacifica, Tribute, the San Diego, the Old Glory, the Ocean Odyssey, the Point Loma. I mean, tremendous fishing going on for the boys right now. On board the Point Loma, Scott Bucher was the deckhand. He said that they also had some really good yellowtail fishing, 63 yellows, a yellowfin, 8 bluefin tuna. Really nice fishing going on there. You cannot beat this kind of fishing. Old Glory had 42 yellowfin tuna to go along with. And while not everybody is getting a chunk of the yellowfin like that, we suspect that there's going to be more coming. And some of that yellowfin is small. A lot of it's 12 to 20 pounds. Some of it is even bigger than that. In all of these cases, fishing fluorocarbon is a great way to go. www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. You'll get a free gift from owner Greg Brown. Say hi to him for me if you get a chance to talk to him. He's a great guy, providing such a quality product. And fluoro is the only way to go. 25 pound is about right. Now, you guys who are on our Apollo trip, leaving Thursday night, keep listening to me here. I'm giving you some tackle recommendations. Now, you also have to pay attention here to the morning briefing because things change, or our shorts during the day because things change and we update you all the time and we want you to have it. So you need to have 25 pound. You need a rod also with 40 pound and a 60 to 80 pound rod. Wouldn't be a bad idea, but we just don't see all that much big bluefin around right now. Now, I hate to have you get caught with your pants down. I guess what I'm saying is if I had to rent a heavy rod on a one-day trip right now, I probably would not ask you to go to that expense. I don't think it's necessary. If you have that rod, however, bring it. Definitely want to bring it to be prepared for everything. I mean, there are some kelp patties that are loaded up already this morning. Jacob said he heard some guys getting close to limits on the flatheads already this morning. So that is good news, and hopefully that bite's going to continue. I'm excited about Thursday night on the Apollo. That's going to be a really fun trip. I can't wait to see you all on that one. So once again, a little bit of yellowfin tuna. Some guys get some really good scores. Wide open dorado in most cases. And also we have some marlin pushing in and some other warm water species. The water's starting to finally get to a better kind of, it's looking better, let's put it that way. I mean, we had it all streaked up. It's still off color and not perfect, but it's getting back to normal. And that big moon was gnarly, and you know that had an effect on the bluefin tuna. Let me give you a couple more scores here. The Old Glory, as we said, had limited dorado, 42 yellowfin, condor with really good yellowfin tuna fishing yesterday. Wide open dorado also for them. There has just been some outstanding scores. Now, the question I asked about our bluefin tuna is that Tanner Bank fish starting to move toward the beach. That's a hard question to answer, but it's worth thinking about because out there on Tanner, we're not seeing the volume here the last 24 hours that we were. Now, that could be temporary. It might have just moved off the bank and it'll move back on, but that water out there rolled, it got colder, and those fish got lockjaw. Last night, I want to say boats that fished the night bluefin tuna with their fingers crossed that that bite was going to come back had about 0 to 6 fish. That's what I heard from most of the sources that I have. So it was a very slow night for bluefin tuna. Man, you're up all night and the crew's up, and it gets hard, man, especially when you're my age trying to stay up and fish that stuff. 300 to 400 gram jigs, highly recommended. We've got nice weather until Sunday evening when we're going to get a little bit more breeze. We'll take a closer look at that as we move closer to it. But for the most part, it was tough last night. In daytime, I want to say anywhere from 5 to 20 bluefin tuna out there on the bank right now. It's pretty tough. You're much more likely to find some fish wandering around somewhere else, whether it's in on the beaches where boats like the Enterprise yesterday at a Pier Point landing, 3/4 day boat, saw copious amounts of yellowfin, also saw a lot of that big bluefin tuna around, and also saw some dorado. So there is a lot going on here locally, and hopefully that is going to continue to head in the right direction. But the question is, has it moved off Tanner? And I don't know. We'll keep watching this very, very closely and see where we go from here. But there is some movement with regard to that fish. I don't know if it's the moon, that gnarly full moon that just went through and we're going to start getting back to normal now. I don't know if it's the off-color water and the generic kind of conditions we've been experiencing here recently. All the water's the same, so the fish are just anywhere. You can't find them in any particular spot, or whether or not we're going to get bit here locally. And I got a funny feeling about that. I think that's really going to take off. So bluefin tuna zones, you kind of have that water rolled. We're hoping that's going to get going again here very, very soon. Out there on Tanner Bank, it's still a fly line. Most of that fish out there, I want to say, is 20 to 40 pounds, and 25 to 40 pound fluoro is best of all. Number 10 circle hook has been working pretty darn good, and again, pretty tough fishing out there. Hopefully that's going to get going again very, very soon. We'll take you to the islands. Todos Santos down there in Ensenada. A little bit of calico bass, few yellowtail. Kind of slowed up there recently. A lot of rockfish in that neck of the woods. The Coronado Islands, man, that water temp and everything has kind of got that place screwed up. 0 to 10 yellows on trips out there. Plenty of rockfish, some calico bass. San Clemente Island looked over by the Amigo. Had a few yellows yesterday. Decent calico bass fishing. Nothing to write home about in Catalina. Much of the same there as Isla Catalina continues to kick out a few yellows, seeing a lot. And now you've got the possibility of a foam or a bluefin or some yellowfin tuna on your journey to and fro the island. Keep that in mind. You might want to bring some heavy tackle on those local trips right now. There's a few calico bass, that kind of thing going on there also, but nothing setting the world on fire. Channel Islands, plenty of rockfish up there. Seeing foamers of bluefin. One bluefin on the Aloha Spirit yesterday. Plenty of great rock fishing. Perhaps a halibut and a sea bass bite looms in our future. I don't think that's over quite yet, but plenty of rockfish to back it up. Santa Barbara Sea Landing, same thing in that neck of the woods. And when the weather's good up there off Fort Bragg, California, up above San Francisco, there's been some really great albacore fishing. We'll see if that is going to continue up there also. So overall, the islands, pretty good. Not anything to write home about, and everybody is just fixated on offshore fishing right now. because it's really good on the dorado. We're seeing more yellowfin tuna, and we've got high hopes that this bluefin is going to start biting and entertain us on the local scene also. That could be phenomenal. That could really be outstanding. Looking at our coastal bite, a little bit better calico fishing again going on down there in San Diego. We continue to see excellent fishing going on in that neck of the woods. Really, really good bass fishing on the lighter line. 12 to 15 pound works best of all. A good hot bait, and you're in there right now. And they've had a few go-arounds recently on the yellowtail. It's kind of hit and miss on the forkies right now, but there's a little bit of that around. There's great rock fishing for boats that want to focus on that. Oceanside, Dana Wharf, those guys still with some calico bass along the beach, occasional halibut, but they've got a lot of bluefin and yellowfin very close to them. And a lot of them are saying, man, it's time to go offshore. Now, most of that fish has lockjaw right now, but you know, the light switch is going to go on one of these days, and it's going to be game on. So make sure you're bringing like 25. Well, first, you want to have that 12 to 15 pound for the bass bite. That's how you're going to catch those. And then some 25 pound, 40 pound. And if you got a little heavier than that, bring it. Once again, I wouldn't rent anything right now, but who knows? That may be in our future here very, very soon. Up here in this neck of the woods, kind of mucked up conditions for the bass bite. So it's been a little bit tougher for bass fishing. Some guys still do pretty darn well on it. Native Son and some of the other boys have still had some good scores on calico and sand bass, but overall it's down right now, and many of those guys are offshore. They're going to start doing more and more of that. Plenty of sculpin and rockfish so that you have some fish taco material for sure up there in Redondo. A little bit of bass up there, a lot of rockfish, Channel Islands, Island Spirit, boats like that out of Ventura, picking away at a few surface type fish, lots of rockfish right now up there for those guys. So hopefully we're going to see that surface bite kind of kick back into gear. On the surf, don't forget your surf fishing headquarters is Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach. They're right down the street from us, and man, they provide you with not only some great knowledge, but great tackle and all the baits you'll need. If you don't want to dig up sandworms or you don't want to dig for sand crabs, go down to Big Fish Bait and Tackle. They'll take care of you. Down around Oceanside, still seeing spot fin, croaker a little bit up here in Huntington Beach. It's going to move up to Bolsa Chica, and even here in Surfside, we'll start to see more and more of it. We also have been watching some pretty good yellowfin croaker fishing. Everything is late this year, so that's starting to come on and bite a little bit better. We're right in the middle of a grunion run. We have tonight and tomorrow night a few halibut being picked off in the surf after the grunion run, like 2 or 3 days after. Man, that's when fishing really tends to get good in the surf, so keep that in mind. And there's some decent fishing up there off El Segundo and up into the Channel Island region. Also, we'll keep our eyes on all of that for you all. All right, don't forget El Patron Sport Fishing. Will Hogue was on the Danny Cadota show last night. Danny said, I want somebody who likes freshwater bass. And he said, can you get a hold of Will and get him in here? And Will said, man, my opportunity to talk freshwater bass. So last night's Danny Cadota show was a great one. You should check it out. They not only talk freshwater bass, but they talk the saltwater scene and the El Patron. So much more. I know you're going to enjoy that. If you want to get on the El Patron, they've got a lot of day and a half trips coming up. 310-832-8304. Up there, Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. The boys out there just continue to do a great job. 805-676-3474. The Horizon just took off on a 2.5-day trip. We'll be watching that one very, very closely. Hopefully, they're going to find some of that bluefin that wants to bite. Good morning. And hopefully that dorado is going to really fill the sacks. It should. Should be a great trick. Ricky Perez is on the one. Mahi-mahi also will be fishing some of the kelps. He's been doing very well. Our buddy Bill Wilkerson. All right, my friends, this Sunday you can meet us at 22nd Street Landing at 9 a.m. We're going to take off for a 1-hour walk as we all try to stay in shape, at least a little bit in shape. And then we'll come back at 10 and drink a cup of coffee. If you're not into the exercise thing, then you can meet us at 10, have a cup of coffee for an hour or so, and we'll BS about fishing, anything you want to talk about. Happy to do that, and always look forward to saying hello to all my dear friends, all of you who make Friedman Adventures so great. It's all of you. Like, share, subscribe. Remember, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram waiting for you right now. Check those out. Also, Independence coming up shortly, October 20th, a trip you just don't want to miss. And then we've got several trips with the Apollo and the El Patron and the Amigo, pretty much sold out. If you want information, send me a text, because sometimes we have cancellations and we'll get you in. If you want to be on a waiting list, I'm happy to do that. And it's a not really good idea. Most of the time, you'll get a cancellation or two. 657-227-6459. Have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend. Keep your fingers that all this bluefin that's moving into the coastal regions of SoCal is going to bite and entertain half and 3/4 day boys to some really outstanding fishing. We are seeing it. It's only a matter of time until it bites. Great fishing offshore. Let's keep our fingers crossed it continues. And as always, I hope to see you really, really soon. Take care, my friends.